बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वस्सलातु वस्सलाम अला रसूलिल्लाह व अला आलिहि व अस्हाबिहि अजमईन अम्मा बाद औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम रब्बी इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Muhammad Ali from Youth Club Lahore. The reason I am having this live session is because I have been having many questions on how to control depression, how to overcome depression and anxiety. Many of you, they have been asking us questions related to relationships, related to divorces, related to family breakups and stuff like that. So inshallah, I thought to have a live session with all of you so that we can have a solution, inshallah, concrete solution, which we can share with others, as this video will be inshallah recorded, as it's live, it will be recorded here at the Youth Club Lahore page, inshallah. So before we begin, brothers and sisters, I would like to ask you that if you have heard about a surah in the Quran, which has cure to depression, and this surah was actually revealed at this particular time when Prophet ﷺ himself was facing a lot of depression, stress, anxiety, and it was revealed after Shibi Abi Talib, and at that time Prophet ﷺ and Sahaba, they were actually moved to Shibi Abi Talib. They were forced to move there by the Quraysh, and that was a very difficult time on the Muslims as well as the Prophet ﷺ. Furthermore, at this time, Prophet ﷺ, his wife, that is his beloved wife, Khadija radhiyallahu anha, who was a great sport to Prophet ﷺ, she passed away. And then Prophet ﷺ's uncle, that is Abu Talib, he passed away. So it was a very, very difficult time on Prophet ﷺ. So I hope that you have an idea which surah am I talking about. And this great surah has cure to depression, anxiety, it gives hope, it talks about so much, it has so much practical solutions. So definitely I will be giving you solution from this surah, inshallah ta'ala. Yes, you guessed it right, I am talking about Surah Yusuf. Do you know that Surah Yusuf has been given the name Ahsanul Qasas by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is meant by Ahsanul Qasas? Ahsanul Qasas basically means the best of stories. That is the most extraordinary story. You know, I remembered a quote since I'm a teacher, so yeah, I remembered this quote, that an average teacher tells, a good teacher explains, an excellent teacher demonstrates, and an extraordinary teacher inspires. So basically what I want to tell through this quote is that an extraordinary story must inspire. It must bring change. It must change every cell of your body. It must change even your bone marrow. And that change must come from inside. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He calls this great story Ahsanul Qasas. That is the best of story. Now the best of story must have extremely practical lessons for everything. Surah Yusuf has hope. Surah Yusuf has a solution to tackle with depression. Surah Yusuf talks about relationships. Surah Yusuf talks about love between family members. Surah Yusuf talks about tawakkul. Surah Yusuf talks about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It talks about so many things that I can absolutely guarantee you that this is the dose that you need right now. Fine, we can go to psychologists, we can go for psychological therapies, but believe me, if you just listen to what I'm going to say, and if you apply these things in your life, you will definitely get the solution you were looking for. It has personally helped me and so many people, become rock solid and fight all the challenges of life. So what are those, attributes, what are those tools explained in this surah, which I would like to tell all of you, inshallah. Firstly, we must know that it's a story of Yaqub alayhi salam and his 12 sons. And Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin were his sons from another wife, and they were very beloved to him. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he was very beloved to him, and he was in so much agony when Yusuf alayhi salam, he got lost from him. Now, I'll be coming straight to the point, inshallah. You must have heard this story many times. Firstly, we have to ponder over this thing, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Yaqub alayhi salam that he was a very loving father, and he lost his beautiful son. He used to love him so much. He cried for him. He was in agony. He was in pain. He was dealing with prolonged sorrow, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, he quoted Yaqub alayhi salam when he said that, बेशक मैं अपना गम अपनी prolonged sadness और अपना sorrow किससे share करता हूँ? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala के साथ share करता हूँ. Now you know the word bas that is used in this ayah, that is used for a prolonged state of sorrow. And many people, they are in prolonged state of sorrow because of some mishap in their life or because of their past maybe. And in this context, you must understand that Yaqub alayhi salam, he lost his beloved son. And at that time, there was no social media, there was no radio, there was no television, and the police was not that active, that they can go and search out for Yusuf alayhi salam. So he didn't even know that Yusuf alayhi salam, is he alive or is he dead. So he dealt with that prolonged depression. How was he able to overcome that prolonged state of sadness and sorrow? Remember this firstly. The special thing about Yaqub alayhi salam, what differentiates him from a common man who is facing these issues, is that Yaqub alayhi salam, even though he was facing prolonged state of you can say sorrow, he never went into depression, into deep depression, into melancholy, or he did not become unproductive, or he did not become ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or he never questioned qadar. He was always thankful, even though he was in grief, and that's natural. When someone loses their son, you must ask them that what grief they are going through. And when you don't know, when someone dies and you bury that person with your own hand, that person is gone. After some time, you will actually realize that that person is gone. You will accept. But when you don't know whether a person that is your son and that person appears to be your son, whether that person is alive or dead, then daily you will die. That's what I'm talking about. Daily you will go through sorrow. Daily you will go through grief. That's what Yaqub alayhi salam was going through. A deep sorrow, deep state of sorrow, a constant state of grief and sorrow. But his speciality was that even though he was facing constant grief and sorrow, he actually never went into extreme depression. He never went unproductive. What is the case with us? Here is what differentiates us from him. When we are facing some grief, some test and trial in life, what's the first thing we do? The first thing we do is that we leave our ibadats. Our prayer, it is affected first and foremost. Then our iman is affected. Then our relationship with Almighty is affected. Then we start to think negative about Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we start to think negative about our own selves, our own existence. Then we start to ask questions that why do I exist? Why didn't I die before that? Why did it happen to me? And stuff like that. People can't even digest little problems. So what are we talking about? We are talking about a son being lost from a father, and that son was the coolness of his eyes. Now, what he did? He actually always said to his sons, he said that, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, for me, patience is most befitting, and beautiful patience is most befitting to me. And وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانِ, and only Allah's help can be sought. These are historical sentences of Yaqub alayhi salam taught to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the tongue of Yaqub alayhi salam. Lesson 1. Yaqub alayhi salam, how was he able to overcome this prolonged state of grief and sorrow? What do you think, brothers and sisters? What did he have? Did he have some psychologist? Was he looking some psychologist? Was he going for some psychological therapies? What do you think? What was it that actually made him cross this sea of sorrow, this sea of grief? What was the life jacket that he had that saved him in this sea, in this state? Yes, let me tell you. Yaqub alayhi salam, time and again he used to tell his sons that I know from Allah that which you do not know. And when Yusuf alayhi salam, he was returned to him, and when Yusuf alayhi salam's shirt was brought to him and he got his eyesight, he told his son that did I not tell you that I know from Allah that which you do not know? So first thing, brothers and sisters, remember, knowledge. It is knowledge that will act as a life jacket for you at such difficult times. Now when I talk about knowledge, am I talking about MBBS or engineering degrees or social sciences or stuff like that? No, I'm not talking about that, although that is a branch of knowledge. What I'm talking about here is that knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge of who the Creator is, and knowledge of taqdeer, and knowledge of Aqidah, a system of life. It gave humanity a legal system, a judicial system. It gave humanity a social system. It has everything, every principles, every field you can think of, the Quran has it. That's why it's the fountainhead of all knowledge. That's what I'm talking about. So, if you have knowledge who is Allah, if you have knowledge about His attributes, what are His attributes? Like, you should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Hakim. You should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Aziz. Al-Aziz, He is the most powerful. When He decides something, then no one can come in front and decide against it. When he wants to test people, then no one can stop him from testing people. When he wants to favor someone, no one can stop him from favoring that person. When he wants to punish someone, no one can actually come and stop him from punishing someone. So this is the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Al-Hakim, he is the most wise. He knows what's better for you. He knows why this test came. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam. We'll come to it, that how he tested Yusuf alayhi salam. But talking about Yaqub alayhi salam, he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Hakim, and he used to give this lesson to Yusuf alayhi salam while he was a child. So first thing is that we should be telling our children when they are very young that who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be telling them attributes of Almighty Allah. We should educate them so that it goes into their subconscious and they can actually apply these things at a later time when they are tested or when challenges are brought to them in real life. So he knew who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. He knew his attributes. He knew the concept of taqdeer. He knew that when he will say positive words about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will give him a lot of things, and he definitely gave him a lot of things. Imagine, he took his son out of this village life. He took that son to the castle of Egypt, and there his son got trained under the supervision of Al-Aziz of Misr, who was one of the hierarchy in the Egyptian court, and who was one of the elites of Egypt. And he got trained under his eyes, and he got tarbiyah by Al-Aziz. So imagine, he took him out of jungle and he got him trained under Al-Aziz, and he got him trained with elite class facilities. And then when he returned him to Yaqub al-Islam, he returned him as a king of Egypt. So imagine, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he returns the things to you. When he takes them away, don't worry, he is going to return you many things in favor. So yeah, first thing is knowledge. If you don't have knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't have knowledge of taqdeer, if you don't have proper knowledge about the purpose of life, if you can't relate yourself in that context, in that perspective, then that means knowledge is missing. And when problems and challenges will come, then first and foremost your faith will be affected. So that's why knowledge is must. Knowledge is a life jacket for you. So try to read the Quran, try to understand the message of Quran, try to know who is Allah. What do we know about Allah? If I'm going to ask a common youth, the image we get from what they know about Allah is that it's like a genie in the lamp. They go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only when they have to get some of their wishes fulfilled. And that's it. That's the concept of genie in the lamp, that you go to the genie when you have to get your wishes fulfilled. Otherwise, we don't care that who actually is Allah and what does He want from us. Are we slaves of Almighty Allah, or are we the owners of Almighty Allah? Na'uzubillah. So that's the first thing. When this thing becomes clear, then we must talk about the purpose of life, and the Quranic perspective about what life is and what's the purpose of life will enhance your vision. It will give you a perspective which will help you counter challenges of life in a way that you have never actually countered before. It will give you such a strength. Why it will give you such a strength? Because that's how it is. That's the kind of personality it builds. Its framework and its tools and its principles yield such a personality that such personality is going to stand before challenges and smile at them. Sahaba, they did not have some sociologists. They didn't study any social science or psychology. Although I'm not degrading psychology, psychology helps in many ways. But yeah, Sahaba didn't have it. But still they were empowered. Still they were very strong individuals. Why? Because of knowledge, because of Aqidah. They had La ilaha illallah. They knew who is Allah, and that's why their roots were strong. So their life jacket during such a time was knowledge. Then, what's the second thing that saved Yaqub alayhi salam from this prolonged state of sorrow and anxiety and depression and stuff like that? Firstly, he said that I know from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that which you do not know, knowledge. Secondly, he was always positive about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we literally lack, which we lack a lot. We oftentimes we try to complain to Allah directly, like we say, oh Allah, why did you do this to me? Or when we are talking to someone, we try to let it out. We say that, why did Allah do this to me? Why did Allah do that to me? There are many bad people, much more bad people than me. Why did my father got cancer? Why did my mother die at this age? So why did God do this to me, and why did God do that to me? So this is this is a clear cut complaint from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This shows that we are not happy with the taqdeer of Allah, and we are not happy with His hikmah. Secondly, there is another form of shikwa, which is passive shikwa, which is passive complaint, and that type of shikwa is exhibited when we show some ungrateful attitude through our actions. We try to commit sins, we try to disobey Almighty Allah, and our behavior becomes bitter. Yeah, when we go through a bitter experience, our behavior becomes bitter. And at this stage, I remembered a quote of Ashfaq Ahmad. He was a very good philosopher. He said that, it's in Urdu, so I like to quote in Urdu. He said that ज़िंदगी उन लोगों की वजह से बड़ी खूबसूरत लगती है जो ज़िंदगी के कड़वे वाक़यात की वजह से खुद कड़वे नहीं हो जाते. So that's what I'm talking about. Yaqub alayhi salam was such a character. This bitter experience did not make him turn bitter. What do you think? When Yusuf alayhi salam got lost, did he used to shout at his son? Did he used to shout at people? Did he become grumpy? Did he become a dotard? Na'uzubillah. And did he leave his mission which was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. Actually, he increased in his ibadah. Actually, he increased in gratefulness. That's the attribute of Anbiya that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to learn. When difficulties come, Anbiya became more and more active in their worship, and they became more grateful to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, positive words, being grateful to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the attribute, this is the tool that will take you to heights that you can't imagine where it will take you. Ye shukr guzari jo hai na, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said that verily we bestowed hikmah on Luqman alayhi salam, and that hikmah was that anishkur lillah, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you will thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is for your own good. So what do you think? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is he talking casually when he says that whoever thanks Allah, it is for his own good? And when you will thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah in return will give you a lot. You can't actually imagine. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam was given to Yaqub alayhi salam as the king of the Egypt. That's what I'm talking about. So knowledge is your life jacket. Remember this. Increase in ibadah and be positive about Allah. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during difficult time. Allah loves those who thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at such times. Trust me, they are very few. So become very few. They are the value added people. So become the value added people like Yaqub alayhi salam. Alright, that's the first step from this surah about how to deal with prolonged sadness through knowledge, through gaining knowledge. But if you won't seek knowledge in such a state, prolonged state of depression, rather you will go to Bollywood songs, rather you will listen to callis, or rather you will watch sad movies, romantic movies, or rather you will sit with people who will like to demotivate you more, or we can say that rather you will go to a life of sin. Then that prolonged sadness will turn into depression and extreme grief and melancholy. As an extreme state of depression, definitely, yes. So beware, watch what you are doing when you are sad, watch what you are doing when you are in a state of deep grief and sorrow, right? So yeah, that's the first thing. Second thing, let's talk about Yusuf alayhi salam. This was the story from the perspective of Yaqub alayhi salam. He always stayed positive, he uttered good sentences, never uttered any sentence showing ungratefulness, and he forgave his sons as well. He did not become grumpy and stuff like that. Now, with respect to Yusuf alayhi salam, according to his perspective, let me just tell you some things. Firstly, Yusuf alayhi salam was an innocent child, beautiful child, and he was the coolness of eyes of his father, and his brothers did not like it. So yeah, you can say that jealousy develops between family members. It's quite common, it's quite natural. Yusuf alayhi salam did not commit any blunder. He did not have anything against his brothers. Rather, his brothers, they actually formed enmity with him. And on what basis? Just imagine, on what basis? Did Yusuf alayhi salam ever defame them? Did Yusuf alayhi salam ever actually, stab behind their back? Did Yusuf alayhi salam ever backbited them? Did Yusuf alayhi salam ever conspired against them by being with his father? No, nothing. Did Yusuf alayhi salam wanted all the inheritance? Did Yusuf alayhi salam wanted all the property? So what was it that their brother, his brother, they tried to throw him into the well, and they actually threw, and they even tried to kill him. But the eldest most brother, that is Yehuda, he had some khair. He said, don't kill him. Now just tell me that Yusuf alayhi salam had the perfect opportunity to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, what did I do wrong that you punished me like this? What did I actually do ever to my brothers that they threw me in the well? Why is it happening to me? That was a perfect situation that he could have asked this, but did he ask? No. Rather, he accepted it as a taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when his brothers, they threw him in the well by beating him, and that must have been a very, very horrendous situation, and he must have gone through a lot of psychological distress. You know what I'm talking about. When your loved ones, they leave you, when your loved ones, they betray you, when suddenly people start hating you and they don't understand you, and they just allege you for being a thief, they allege you for a lot of things you did not do. So how to react? This is another lesson. What was the reaction of Yusuf alayhi salam? Did he form an enmity with his brothers? No, he did not form an enmity with his brothers. Rather, at the end we come to know he forgave his brothers. That's another point. But right now what I want to tell you is that once he was thrown inside the well. Now Yusuf alayhi salam, he inside the well had only two choices, and these are the practical choices, right? Either he had the choice to come out of the well, or he had the choice to remain inside the well. If he came outside the well, then what would happen? His brothers may be waiting for him and they will throw him again inside the well, or there will be wolves and wolves would eat him because that was a wild area. So that choice is eliminated. He can't come out, because brothers may be waiting for him. Second choice, to remain inside the well, but he can't remain inside the well forever, because if he will, from where will he drink? From where will he eat? From where will he, people have many necessities, from where all those necessities will be fulfilled. So this choice is eliminated as well. So what's the third choice? Any guesses? What's the third choice? He can't go out, he can't stay in. What's the third choice? The third choice, confused? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes in life, you are thrown in a well. You don't know how to react in a situation. You don't see any solution. You have some solutions like to do this or to do that according to your thinking that you want to do this, you want to do that. But no solution is actually applicable. So yeah, sometimes we are in a well, inside a well. So what to do when you are inside a well? When you are stuck, you can't do anything. And many people, they are stuck. Trust me, especially those fighting depression. They don't know what to do. They can't make any decision. They have lost the decision making. So they are stuck. So what to do? What to do? Let me tell you. When Yusuf alayhi salam, he was in well, the first thing is that he took it as an opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he sent his angels, he calmed him down. He said that Yusuf, do not worry and stay here with patience. One day you will tell them of their affair. One day you will inform them of everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he showed him a vision. And because of that vision, Yusuf alayhi salam, he got encouraged and he got this capacity to fight this state of being stuck, because he was shown a vision. So what makes you stuck? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown you a vision through Yusuf alayhi salam, and that vision is that nothing is impossible for Almighty Allah. When you are stuck, and let me tell you, another prophet was stuck. Where? Inside the belly of a whale. When you are inside the belly of a whale, who will listen to you? When you are lost in a jungle, in a room, someone will come, someone will listen someday. But when you are inside the belly of a whale, and that whale is deep down in a sea, so who is there to listen? No one is there to listen. Yeah. So it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will listen. And Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, he said, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minas zalimin. So sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he throws you in a well. He makes others throw you in a well, and you are stuck. Why? Because he wants you to realize that it is only you and him, and your relationship should be with him only, and it is he on whom you should depend only. Everyone is going to leave you, your father, your mother, your siblings, and everyone. So your friends and all the sincere people, they are going to leave one day. Some naturally, some because of some personal reasons, because of some other reasons. Yeah. So it is only you and him. He is the constant factor in your life. So why don't you pay attention to this constant factor in your life? That is the constant being of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he got the opportunity, to establish relation with Almighty Allah. So in the well, if you are in the well, my dear one, please establish relationship with Almighty. That's the reason you've been thrown in the well, because he wants you to now realize, he wants you to think, he wants you to come to him. If you are not understanding it, then believe me, it's quite unfortunate, and Satan is actually coming at this very spot during this phase, and he is trying to demotivate you further. And because you don't have much knowledge, you don't know who is Satan, how he sends people astray, you don't know who is Allah, you don't know the philosophy of trials and tests in life. You don't know the philosophy of life, so you are extremely vulnerable and you get wasted, you become unproductive. That's what youth is. That's what's happening with the youth. And then they message and then they try to get out of that situation, that help me and listen to me, whereas the solution has been discussed in the Quran 1500 years ago. And that solution I am talking to you right now. Establish relation with Allah. Take this pain of discipline. Stand up. You have to stand up. You have to do something, right? Motivate yourself to talk to Him. Make dua daily. Take out 10 minutes. Just take out 10 minutes. Never become hopeless. No matter how many sins you are doing. No matter whatever sin you are doing. Never stop talking to Him. Never stop being in contact with Him. That's what you need to do when you are in the well. Yeah, so remember this. It's an opportunity. Take it as an opportunity. Establish relation with Almighty Allah. Then what happened? When Yusuf al-Islam, he was taken out of that well, and he was taken from that well to the castle of Al-Aziz. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to gift him actually. He wanted to get him trained under Al-Aziz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us some attributes of Yusuf al-Islam and Yaqub al-Islam, which actually made them flourish, which actually made them go to top. And one of that attribute is that Yusuf al-Islam and Yaqub al-Islam, they were both grateful to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were actually muhsineen. What is muhsineen? Muhsineen is doing ihsan on someone, doing something extra for someone, forgiving people, being good with them, and not having any grudge in our hearts, but letting go of things and showing a very magnanimous heart. So Yusuf al-Islam, he showed a very magnanimous heart when his brothers, they actually misbehaved with him. They did a lot of injustice with him, but Yusuf al-Islam, he never did injustice to them, rather he forgave them. So we must learn from this that when someone hurts us, we have a choice to hurt that person in return, but what we should do is that we should never hurt that person in return. This is what will define us. This is what makes us different from that person, definitely. Then Yusuf al-Islam, he when he went to the prison, he actually never uttered any ungrateful sentence. Rather he always thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He brought him to such a position that Yusuf al-Islam was able to meet his brothers, and they were shocked that he is right now king of Egypt. So this is what we learn from this beautiful story, that is Ahsanul Qasas, that if you will do ihsan, if you will show magnanimity, if you will show independence of creation, and you will be dependent on Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only, and you will have a lot of tawakkul, you will leave all your matters to Him, and you will leave everything to Him, and you will make Him as your wakil, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is enough as a wakil, and He will defend you. He will defend you in such a manner that you have never imagined, and people who have hurt you will one day ask apology of you. This is the lesson we get. And when you will do tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will take care of all your matters. So this is the importance, brothers and sisters, of understanding this surah and doing a detailed analysis of this surah. And how unfortunate are we, how unfortunate was I, that I was away from Quran for a very long period of time because of because of being involved in many other activities which teenage are involved these days as well, and because of not recognizing the importance of Quran, not recognizing the importance of establishing a relation with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I hope that we have learned a lot of lessons from this beautiful surah, and I hope that if you will act on these advices and these lessons that we have learned from Surah Yusuf, definitely you will be able to counter challenges of life, and definitely you will be able to deal with prolonged sadness, depression, demotivation. But the condition, my dear brothers and sisters, is that you must act on these things, and you must do a further detailed analysis of this surah as well as detailed analysis of the whole Quran, because as I said, knowledge is a life-saving jacket for all of us. So this is your brother Muhammad Ali. Jazakallah khair for being with us. Jazakallah khair for listening. Spread this message and spread whatever I've told you with other people, and be happy in life, inshallah. Challenges are part of life. You must stand before challenges, and you must defeat shaitan, and you must defeat demotivation with the help of Allah and through knowledge of the Quran and through reading the stories of Anbiya. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ربنا اغفر وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربنا اغفر وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا